Hey everybody, I'm Joshua Orro, the Mustang Prince, and welcome to Mustang Prince Orro Reports. You'll remember in an earlier episode, I blogged Hayao Miyazaki's Nausicaa of the Valley of the Wind, which, like Castle in the Sky, was a legendary movie that began Studio Ghibli. And then, I looked at the enchanting Howl's Moving Castle, which, like Ponyo and Spirited Away, I deeply regret not seeing in theaters during the time. But it was still a masterful movie full of magic, love, and anti-war. Now, I want to remind you guys that My Neighbor Totoro was the very first Japanese anime movie that I ever watched. However, a few years after I saw it at my Aunt Debbie's place, I've been seeing commercials and trailers on several Disney VHSs during the late 90s about a coming-of-age movie which is said to be Disney's first time distributing a Studio Ghibli movie. Released in Japan on July 29, 1989, and in the United States on May 23, 1998 at the Seattle International Film Festival, the movie is Kiki's Delivery Service. Now let's get started. 13-year-old Kiki moves to a seaside town with her talking cat Gigi to spend a whole year alone, in accordance with her village's tradition for witches in training. After learning to control her broomstick, Kiki sets up a flying delivery service and soon becomes a fixture in the community. But when the insecure young witch begins questioning herself and loses her magical abilities, she must overcome her self-doubt and get her powers back. Now, what do I personally think of this movie? Well, I think this is another great movie from Miyazaki's library. And to further explain why I love this film, let's move on to Mustang Notes. The film is based on the 1985 novel by Iko Kodano. It was the very first film released under a 15-year distribution partnership between the Walt Disney Company and Studio Ghibli. In 1987, Group Fudosha asked Kodano's publishers for the rights to adapt her novel into a feature film, directed by either Hayao Miyazaki or Isao Takahata. Nearing the end of My Neighbor Totoro's production, members of Studio Ghibli were being recruited as senior staff members for Kiki's Delivery Service. The character design position was given to Katsuya Kondo, who worked with Miyazaki on Totoro. Hiroshi Ono, who would later work on projects such as Shinro, was hired as art director at the request of Kazuo Oga. Since the novel was based in a fictional country in Northern Europe, Miyazaki and the senior staff went to research landscapes and other elements of the setting. Their main stops were Old Town in Stockholm and Visby on the Swedish island of Gotland. Upon their return to Japan, Miyazaki and the creative team worked on conceptual art and character designs. Miyazaki began significantly modifying the story as well as creating new ideas and changing existing ones. Now, I find this movie to be, well, another great coming-of-age film due to Kiki's transition into adulthood. In other words, she is faced with problems which are pretty common in adolescence, such as finding a job, seeking acceptance, and taking care of herself. And her transition from traditional to contemporary, where Kiki is shown to balance both of these qualities, as well as observing the tradition of witches while engaging in other traditional methods, such as baking with a wood-burning stove and flying her mother's old broomstick. Plus, this film explores the concept of vulnerability. As for the animation, to me, the Japanese animation is absolutely awesome. I mean, this is Studio Ghibli we're talking about, and with a director like Hayao Miyazaki, you know that it's awesome. Also, I just love how the city of Koriko looks in this movie. Sure, it is inspired by Stockholm and Gotland, but part of it kind of makes me think of other cities like San Francisco and London. And in my opinion, it's such a beautiful city, and I think Kiki made a great choice choosing this place as a place for her to settle in. Also, I like how the story focuses on independence, friendship, and courage. Also, I think the scene where a blimp is about to crash into the clock tower is not only intense, especially with Tombow hanging on, but the part where said blimp is tilted makes it look like a Titanic in the sky. And now let's move on to the characters and the voice actors who brought them to life. And just to remind you guys, we're only going to look at the English Disney dub. Our main character, Kiki, is voiced by Kirsten Dunst, who played a young Anastasia in Don Bluth's Anastasia, Judy Shepard in Jumanji, Anna from the Tower of Terror, Mary Jane Watson from Sam Raimi's Spider-Man trilogy, and Gerda from the Russian animated Snow Queen movie. You know, I really like Kiki. She's friendly, sweet, and upbeat, though a little stubborn and proud at times, which is sometimes to her disadvantage. Plus, her quest for independence kind of makes me think of what I want to do in my future. Move out of my parents' house and make my own living. Plus, I like that Kiki makes new friends with her customers. And I think she was really brave when saving Tombow from the blimp. Kiki's cat, Gigi, is voiced by the late Phil Hartman, who got to be in Buster and Chauncey's Silent Night and The Brave Little Toaster. To me, Gigi is kind of chatty and sarcastic, and he likes to act kind of proud sometimes. Plus, I think it was kind of funny when Gigi was forced to pretend to be a stuffed cat for a little boy's birthday gift. Also, later on in the movie, he gets a girlfriend named Lily. Our next character is Tombow, voiced by Matthew Lawrence, best known from Mrs. Doubtfire. This kid is an aviation fanatic who becomes fascinated with Kiki the moment she arrives in Koriko. I really like him too. Sure, he can be a bit nerdy sometimes, and his friendship relation with Kiki didn't start out too well at first. But still, I think he's very clever when it comes to installing a propeller on his bicycle, and I like when he takes Kiki for a ride on it. Next up is Osono, a baker voiced by the current Daisy Duck, Trez MacNeille. To me, Osono is a kind and likable woman, and I really love that she lets Kiki stay in the attic of her home. Also, I think Osono is like a second mother to Kiki due to her being concerned when Kiki's powers are drained nearing the end of the movie. Next we have Ursula, voiced by Janine Garofalo, who voiced Colette in Pixar's Ratatouille. Ursula is a young artist who lives in a log cabin in the middle of the forest. Kiki first meets her while trying to retrieve a stuffed cat that dropped from the sky while she was flying overhead on her broomstick. I think Ursula is another memorable character, and I think she's got great art talent when sketching crows. Also, I like when she and Kiki spend time together for a bit after Kiki loses her powers. Also, some folks believe that she could be inspired by Ursula K. Le Guin, who wrote the Earthseas books. Another character to talk about is Madam, voiced by the late Debbie Reynolds, who got to be in Singing in the Rain, the Halloween Town franchise, Charlotte's Web, and Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer the movie. I think Madam is a kind and gentle old lady. Kiki first meets her when she phones for her to deliver a herring pie to her granddaughter's birthday party. However, because her electric oven keeps breaking down, Kiki offers to help Madam make the pie using a wood fire oven, and in addition, she does some odd chores around the house before delivering the pie in the rain. In return, Madam makes a cake for Kiki and offers to make her another one for her birthday. That was really sweet of her. Other voice actors in the film include Brad Garrett, Kat Susie, Jeff Bennett, Eddie McClurg, Debbie Derryberry, Sherry Lynn, Pamela Adlon, and Julia Fletcher. And now for my final words. Well, like I said earlier, Kiki's Delivery Service is another great movie in Miyazaki's library. Though, I wish I could have watched it more often when I was young. Still, I think the animation is flawless, the story is very relatable, and it kind of makes me think about my own future. Plus, the characters are wonderful, and the voice acting is absolutely spot on. Still, I wish the version that I own should have kept the "I'm Gonna Fly" song during the end credits. But despite that, this is a Miyazaki film that everybody, young or old, should watch. And trust me, this film will definitely pull at your heartstrings. I give this film a 98% out of 100. Well, that's all for now. Be sure to join me next time, where I take a look at the newest Troll movie, Mustang Power.